China's recent decision to reduce imports from the United States by $690 billion marks a significant shift in the global trade landscape. This move, unprecedented in its scale, has sent shockwaves through the American economy. It signals a new era of economic rivalry between the world's two largest economies. This reduction in imports is not merely a bargaining chip in an ongoing trade war. It represents a deliberate and calculated strategy by China to decouple its economy from the U.S. The ramifications of this decision are far-reaching, with potentially profound implications for American businesses, workers, and consumers. The impact of this trade shift is already being felt in key sectors of the U.S. economy. American farmers who have long relied on China as a major export market are facing a glut of unsold produce. Technology companies already grappling with a global chip shortage are bracing for further disruptions to their supply chains. This essay will delve into the motivations behind China's decision, exploring its impact on various sectors of the U.S. economy. It will also examine the broader implications of this shift for U.S.-China relations and the future of the global trade order. American agriculture, a cornerstone of the U.S. economy, is among the hardest hit by China's import reduction. China was once the largest export market for U.S. agricultural products, particularly soybeans, corn, and pork. The sharp decline in Chinese purchases has left American farmers reeling. The surplus of unsold crops has driven down prices, squeezing already tight margins for farmers. Many are struggling to stay afloat, facing mounting debts and the prospect of losing their farms. The agricultural heartland of America, once a symbol of prosperity, is grappling with economic hardship. The impact extends beyond the farm gate, rippling through rural communities. Agricultural businesses, from equipment dealers to grain elevators, are experiencing a slowdown. Job losses are mounting, further deepening the economic pain. The plight of American farmers underscores the vulnerability of the U.S. economy to disruptions in trade with China. It also highlights the need for diversification, both in terms of export markets and agricultural production. China's import reduction has also dealt a blow to the U.S. technology sector. China has long been a critical market for American tech giants from Apple to Intel. The reduced demand for US-made semiconductors, software, and electronics is impacting revenues and profitability. China's push for technological self-sufficiency is further exacerbating the situation. Beijing's Made in China 2025 initiative aims to reduce reliance on foreign technology, particularly in strategic sectors like semiconductors and artificial intelligence. American tech companies are facing growing competition from Chinese rivals, both domestically and in global markets. The loss of market share in China, coupled with the rise of Chinese tech giants, poses a long-term challenge to U.S. technological leadership. The trade war and subsequent import reduction have exposed the vulnerability of U.S. tech companies to geopolitical tensions. It has also underscored the need for innovation and diversification to maintain a competitive edge in a rapidly evolving technological landscape. The energy sector is another casualty of China's trade shift. China has significantly reduced its imports of U.S. liquefied natural gas, opting instead for suppliers like Russia, Qatar, and Australia. This has deprived the U.S. of a key market for its burgeoning LNG exports. The loss of the Chinese market comes at a time when the U.S. is striving to become a major player in the global LNG market. The abundance of shale gas has positioned the U.S. as a potential energy superpower. However, China's pivot towards other suppliers is hindering these ambitions. China's move is also reshaping the geopolitics of energy. Its growing reliance on Russian gas, facilitated by Western sanctions on Moscow, is strengthening ties between the two countries. This has implications for U.S. efforts to isolate Russia on the world stage. The energy sector illustrates how China's trade policies are intertwined with its geopolitical ambitions. By diversifying its energy sources, China is reducing its vulnerability to U.S. pressure, while simultaneously strengthening ties with strategic partners. To Section 5, China's grand strategy, self-sufficiency and diversification. China's decision to reduce imports from the United States is part of a broader strategic shift. Beijing is pursuing a two-pronged approach, reducing reliance on foreign products and diversifying its trading partners. This strategy is driven by a desire for greater economic security and geopolitical autonomy. The trade war with the United States, initiated during the Trump administration and continued in various forms under the Biden administration, exposed China's vulnerability to American pressure points. The weaponization of trade, particularly in the technology sector, highlighted the risks of relying too heavily on a single trading partner. China's efforts to promote the use of its own currency, the yuan, in international trade are also aimed at reducing reliance on the US dollar. This move, if successful, could potentially diminish the dollar's dominance in global finance, with significant implications for US economic power. China's strategic shift presents both challenges and opportunities for the United States. It underscores the need for the US to reassess its approach to trade and foreign policy in a multipolar world. Section 6. A history of trade tensions. The current trade tensions between the US and China are deeply rooted in historical and structural factors. The US has long been critical of China's trade practices, accusing Beijing of unfair competition, intellectual property theft, and currency manipulation. The Trump administration's decision to impose tariffs on billions of dollars worth of Chinese goods in 2018 marked a significant escalation in this long-simmering trade war. The Biden administration, while critical of some of Trump's tactics, has largely maintained these tariffs. The two countries have engaged in sporadic trade talks, but progress has been limited. The fundamental differences in their economic systems and strategic objectives continue to hinder a resolution. The trade war has had a negative impact on both economies. Businesses have faced uncertainty, consumers have grappled with higher prices, and global growth has slowed. The current import reduction by China is likely to exacerbate these negative consequences. The history of US-China trade tensions underscores the complexity of the relationship between the world's two largest economies. Finding a path towards a more stable and mutually beneficial trade relationship will require both sides to address their core concerns and make concessions. Section 7. Winners in the new trade order, Brazil and Russia. While the US grapples with the fallout of China's import reduction, other countries are poised to benefit from this shift in global trade patterns. Brazil and Russia, both major producers of commodities that China needs, are well positioned to fill the void left by the US. Brazil, already a major supplier of soybeans to China, has seen its agricultural exports surge in recent years. The South American nation is also a significant exporter of iron ore, another commodity in high demand in China. The strengthening of trade ties between China and Brazil is further evidenced by growing Chinese investments in Brazilian infrastructure projects. Russia, too, is capitalizing on China's diversification strategy. The two countries have deepened their energy cooperation, with Russia becoming a major supplier of oil and gas to China. The Nord Stream 2 pipeline, despite facing opposition from the US, is a testament to the growing energy partnership between Moscow and Beijing. The rise of Brazil and Russia as key trading partners for China highlights the shifting dynamics of the global economy. It underscores the need for the US to adapt to a multipolar world where its economic dominance is no longer assured. Section 8. America's waning influence, a reckoning for US foreign policy. China's trade shift is not merely an economic event, it is a geopolitical earthquake with far-reaching implications for US foreign policy and global influence. For decades, the US has leveraged its economic might to shape the international order, promoting free trade and using its economic clout as a tool of diplomacy. However, China's growing economic power, coupled with its willingness to use trade as a weapon, is challenging this established order. The US is finding its ability to influence events on the world stage increasingly constrained. The decline in US economic influence is particularly evident in regions like Southeast Asia and Africa, where China has made significant inroads through its Belt and Road Initiative. These infrastructure projects, financed and built by China, are strengthening Beijing's ties with countries that were once firmly within the US sphere of influence. The erosion of US economic dominance has implications for its military and diplomatic standing. As China's economic clout grows, so too does its ability to project military power and shape the diplomatic landscape. The US is facing a future where its global leadership is no longer assured. Section 9. Navigating the future, charting a new course. The seismic shift in global trade patterns brought about by China's import reduction presents both challenges and opportunities for the US. It is a wake-up call for Washington to rethink its approach to trade, foreign policy, and its role in the world. The US must recognize that the era of unchallenged economic dominance is over. The rise of China, along with other emerging economies, has created a multipolar world where power is more diffuse. The US can no longer dictate terms. It must learn to compete and cooperate in a more complex and interconnected global economy. The US needs to revitalize its domestic economy, investing in education, infrastructure, and innovation to maintain its competitive edge. It also needs to strengthen alliances with like-minded countries, working together to promote free trade and a rules-based international order. The challenge for the US is to adapt to this new reality without resorting to protectionism or Cold War-style confrontation. A new approach to China is needed, one that balances competition with cooperation, recognizes China's legitimate interests, and seeks to manage differences peacefully. The future of the global economy, and indeed the international order, hinges on how the US and China navigate this new era of great power competition. The stakes are high, and the outcome remains uncertain.